Hey, what's up? Lightboltjoe here. Today we are going to discuss the brand new 2020 original book, Tristan Strong Destroys the World by Kwame Mbalia. I butchered his name. I apologize. Kwame Mbalia. Tristan Strong Destroys the World. This is the sequel to 2019's Tristan Strong Punches a Hole in the Sky. So we have Tristan Strong here. We have Ayana here. We have the beautiful golden statues that they are on the land of Alk. This was an awesome book. I didn't love it as much as the first book. The only reason why is because this was a little bit slower than the first book. The first book took me by surprise, super fast paced, a whole new world attached to the world itself called Alk, mixing in the, lore of the African Americans, within the South of the United States of America, mixed with the Western African gods and goddesses, just combining everything together in the land of Alk, and it's just incredible. And I love Tristan Strong as a character. He is raw, he's emotional, he's vulnerable, he's strong, no pun intended, but he's not afraid to accept defeat and then figure out a way to come back and thrive with the help of others. Genius. So, like I said, this book was a little slow, teensy bit. I still loved it, but I didn't love it as much as I wanted to. Does that make sense? Okay. Also, I love when book covers do this. It's one full picture, right? I love when books do that. It's a little nerdy thing of mine. It's a little art geek obsessed thing. Where am I putting this? I'm gonna put it right to my left, your right. So Tristan Strong, it's been a couple weeks after his last adventure in Alk. The time in Alk is a little bit different than the time in the real world. He is still on his grandparents' farm in Alabama. He is from Chicago himself, so he then gets wrapped into the world of stories again. He is the I can't say this word. Ananasam. He's the keeper of stories. So he has the storybook phone, the SBP as he calls it, because the quest of the last book was to get the story box that Anansi, the spider trickster god, had, because the Anansium is the keeper of stories. So Tristan made the promises to everyone, the good guys, the bad guys, everyone in Alk, that he would tell the stories, that he would record the stories, he would tell the stories, and that's how everything calmed down, and, the Mafa ship went down below in the burning sea and all these things, right? So Anansi was punished, and he is now stuck in the storybook phone, the story box phone, the SBP. So Tristan has the SBP, sleek, gorgeous phone with a gold spider emblem on it, gorgeous. I want one myself. And Anansi is pretty much, his own Siri or Alexa or, Cortana, if you will. It's his own AI, but Anansi is a god, so it's kind of funny. So Tristan starts off the story practicing boxing with his grandfather. His grandfather pins him against this kid, Reggie, who's like, a big heavyweight, for them to do it like a, practice sparring match, whatever the hell they call it. And then suddenly all hell breaks loose because there's these ghosts that randomly appear from Alk through the forest that, the bottle tree was a part of, big aspects of, the connection that Tristan punched a hole through the sky of. And then this random villain comes about named the Shadow Man. Not the Shadow Man. Shadow Man is Princess and the Frog from Disney. I apologize. The Shamble Man. There you go. Shamble Man steals Tristan's grandmother, grandma, and takes her to Alk. And so Tristan then goes to Alk after coming across, who is it? Was it Ayana? I think it was Ayana. Yeah, she happened to be in the world to try to get him. And they get I'm forgetting now. Why I'm forgetting is because I just read Trials of Apollo, The Tower of Narrow, and then I just read Tristan Strong Destroys the World, and it's the same exact, literally, it's the same premise of getting to the next part of this story. Apollo and Meg were given a gold coin to use to summon the three fates to get in the taxi to get to Camp Half-Blood. And that's how that story started after the prelude. So in this, we have the prelude of the boxing match. The Shamble Man takes Grandma away. And then, Anansi, I'm sorry, not Ayana. Anansi, the spider god, shows Tristan in the phone an app to click on the app to get a ride service to Alk. Okay, there you go. There's the little... This is why I was just confused right now. It's because it's literally the same means of getting from point A to point B, just in two different stories that happened to come both out on October 6th, 2020, that I happened to buy both on October 6th, 2020, and that are both in the Rick Riordan, universe. So kudos to everyone involved of my confusion just now. Okay, so Anansi shows Tristan the ride service app to get to Alk, and the ride service app happens to be for keelboat Annie, who's another, lore of African Americans. I'm not quite familiar with her. I know she rides on Old Man River. They talk about that a lot, but I'm assuming if, you're a kid who grew up in the South, you're more familiar with these stories. I'm a kid from Long Island. I don't know these things, but I wish I did. But now I do. So that's good. Learning is good. Stay quizzical, one and all. Okay. So Tristan eventually gets to Alk. Alk is rebuilding itself from the massive, war that happened that Tristan caused, but he did fix. So it's now a matter of, because he saw John Henry in his dreams, what is happening with John Henry? Who is the Shamble Man? Why is the Shamble Man taking, magical items from the gods that are then gods and goddesses that are then weakening them? What is his goal? As the story progresses, we fight this monster, we meet this old friend, we meet this new friend. Gum Baby is back, she's hysterical. Anansi's son, Junior, the stone thrower, is thrown into the mix. We don't know he's his son until kind of middle of the book, but that's pretty cool. There's, we go to another part of Alk. We find more Alkians. We see a lot of different battles and stuff like that, which is pretty dope. And then one of the twists, which is pretty interesting, is that Brer Bear is the Shamble Man. Did not see that coming. I thought that was pretty neat, because Anansi was tricking everyone in the last book as Brer Rabbit. So we had a trickster as Brer Rabbit in the first book, and now we have the Shamble Man, who is actually King Cotton, the Haint that was released from the blue bottle at the Bottle Tree Forest in the first book, who said he would get revenge at the end of the first book, is controlling Brer Bear this entire time. You're like, whoa, how is this happening? So when Gum Baby and company were fighting the Shamble Man, a.k.a. Brer Bear, we'll take away that, a.k.a. King Cotton, they had thrown, Gum Baby, had thrown a crap ton of sap at his face, because she's a sap attack, precautionary measures, all those wonderful Gum Baby things. So the sap had hardened on his face, creating resin, and the resin imprinted the shadow of the Haint in the mask. And then because Brer Bear was so enraged that his kids, passed away in the war that happened on Alk, he went down into the burning sea. He grabbed the mask, he grabbed some other, federlings and all those creepy, steel monsters, and put it all together as a armor, basically, and he had half the mask, and because he was wearing the mask in his rage, he became the Shadow Man, because King Cotton his Haint is infused into the mask. So it's all this hatred going around. We meet Mami Wata. She's the goddess of water. So she had a very big part of, controlling all these things. So eventually Brer Bear is fighting our heroes and company, and a massive poisonous storm is now literally destroying Alk. It's taking it away. And Tristan realizes that it's not just taking it away, it's actually dissolving the stories. Alk is not so much a place, but it's more of a story. But it is a place because it's a story. It's a back and forth. So he thinks the only way to do this properly is to sew the worlds together, because he is trying to find his grandmother this entire time, eventually finds her, but he realizes that the quilt that the grandmother gave him before she disappeared is what holds the stories together, that the quilt is the book of stories. So he has the storybook phone, but he also has the quilt of stories. Incredible. I love the concept of the stories are what leads the story. It's a fun little quip I love. So he realizes if he sews the worlds together, if he puts Alk and his world together, then he doesn't have to, worry so much about Alk disappearing, because Alk will always remain so long as it's always being told as the story. So he sews everything together. There's a bright golden flash over everybody. Tristan wakes up a couple days later, realizes that, his friends are now, some of his friends, he knows where they are. Others, he doesn't know where they are. He doesn't know where all the Alkians went. He doesn't know how many died, how many survived, what happened. So Keelboat Annie's boat is now a treehouse in the bottle tree forest of his grandparents' farm in Alabama, which I thought was pretty cool. And Anansi the spider, the trickster god, is showing him in the SBP, the storybook phone, that there's new apps, and that Ayana Jr. and Gumbaby were just spotted in Colorado or something like that, with a phone, with a picture. And so it's now a quest to find all the Alkians, to find his friends, to get their stories back together. Because, as he discusses with the crew, if the stories are thriving, then Alk never dies. Alk never goes away. And it's possible, if he can find all of the Alkians, all of the gods, all of the goddesses, all of the citizens of Alk, then he could bring Alk back. But also, half the bottle tree forest is now destroyed. So King Cotton, just because he's not in the mask anymore, doesn't mean he didn't completely go away. So he broke a lot of bottles to free Haints, to free some spirits. So then they're all causing havoc on one section, and the quest to find all the other Alkians is on another section. So it reminded me a lot of the end of Lilo and Stitch. What movie was it? Lilo and Stitch. No, it was Stitch the movie, something like that. When all the pods just start to rain from the sky, and like some drip into water, some don't. So it's now Lilo is tasked with finding all of the, alien balls to make sure that A, they don't get rehydrated and cause chaos, or if they are rehydrated, find their purpose on the islands of Hawaii. That's what this reminded me of. That's what the end of this book reminded me of. It reminded me of Lilo going to find these other, experiments of Dr. Jumba. So will Tristan find all the Alkians? How long until he catches up with his friends? How many spirits are actually on the loose? We don't know. I know Kwame is currently writing the third book. I'm hoping he got a lot done during quarantine of the COVID-19 pandemic. I'm not quite certain as to how much he's done. I don't know when the next book comes out, because it doesn't actually say like coming 2021, book 3 in the Tristan Strong book series. Normally like books do that. This one didn't do that. So I don't know how long until the next book, but I love this book, but it was a little slow. Teeny bit slow. But as you could tell from my enthusiasm of rehashing the plot, I love this plot. This is a great plot. It's just, I wish I read it faster than I did. That's it. That's all. So we discussed it. Tristan Strong destroys the world. Beautiful book. I learned so much, and I hope you do too. Whenever you read it. I was gonna say whenever you watch it. You ain't watching this. You reading this. You watch it with your mind. All right, we're good. Mucho mahalo.